Greetings, rules lawyers, and welcome to MrRipper. I'm your host, Dave Makes Noises. Before we kick off, just a quick reminder that we've started a new channel just for longer form stories that deserve their own videos. So if you like the threads and the longer stories, please go join us there. If you're just here for the longer stories, they're there now. And if you hate the longer stories and you're only here for threads, please support us anyways because we love you and your support helps us keep Rip Daddy's emaciated sweatshop assembly line of infant editors fed and dreaming of a brighter tomorrow instead of skipping tea for the next week. I don't make the rules. I'm sorry. But anyways, today we're finding ways to legally ruin everything as we ask the players of Reddit what was the most unexpectedly broken character your DM had agreed to let you play. So I made a wild magic sorcerer that was a minotaur. Due to a bit of luck, the DM ended up giving this character a bag of holding. This led to me being able to fire 60 magic missiles and 3 remorazes in very quick succession. So by being overprepared, by using the bag of holding before a long rest to empty my remaining spell slots by casting magic missiles into it, I became an amazing DPS with and without spells. My first Pathfinder game ever, the DM wanted to do an OP campaign, so right off the bat, that's fun, :D. I forget how we did stats. I think we rolled for them, but I don't know for sure. But we were allowed to stack the tomes that increased your stats. And because my player character was romancing the big bad evil guy, she had endless pockets. So she could get as many of these as she wanted, so I abused it, gleefully. Her charisma was like 140 by the end of the campaign. We were to max level 2 classes, not combine them, just have 2 whole classes for one character at max level. It was stupid. And great. My character was a level 20 rogue / level 20 dread necromancer. I used a Pathfinder import from 3.5 that the DM okayed without much reading. Being a max level dread necromancer meant that I was a lich, so I found a lich template and applied it accordingly. Again, with the DM's okay. The template I would later find out was meant for NPCs. Oops. So this level 40, whose effective caster level was dumb, like 40 to 80 or something because her charisma was like 90 because of the template application, who did have an epic backstory to accompany this much shenanigans, ended up with an effective character level of 180 by the end of the campaign. This had little to no effect on her stats, but it affected her saving throw DCs and spell attacks. No one could save against her spells, and I loved the feeling of playing her. She has since been revived as a goddess of magic whose love for a good god of the sun has changed her into a more chaotic, neutral version of her previous self that is more gentle but is protective of those who are abused by the ones that are supposed to take care of them due to elements from her original backstory. Sorry, she just has a special place in my heart. You have nothing to apologize for. I poured a lot of my own pain into her and she was very therapeutic to play. As we do. My other character for the same campaign, we each had 2 PCs, 1 good and 1 evil. An Inquisitor of the Goddess of Loyalty was very normal stats, basically underpowered compared to everyone else, but still so much fun to play. And her OP moment was when we entered a dungeon in search of the fate of the founder of the Paladins Guild. We found him. He turned out to be evil, and my Inquisitor immediately threw hands, pulling out the elven curved blade she had and fighting him. He tried to run away from her, but she dimension doored right to him and succeeded on an intimidation check to freak him out, :3. It was great. The party paladin made sure that she had his aura buffs and everything so she could hit the MFer in the face. She later got an item from an evil god for winning his tournament that gave her a +80 to every stat, but also made her give off a faint evil aura. She wore it anyway because she didn't care about being good, she cared about being loyal. Same Inquisitor also ended the campaign in a relationship with her goddess. This campaign was horribly broken, and we had a DMPC that was also the big bad evil guy and was awful and broken, and I kind of want to tell people about it sometimes. XD, sorry it's so long, greater than W less than. My Dragonborn Divine Sorcerer. His only belief was to keep everyone else alive so they could do the fighting for you. He had 16 dex and 18 charisma. He had the tough hide feat, so immediately his AC was 13. With dexterity, it was 16. First turn in combat, he would cast Shield of Faith as his concentration spell, further increasing his AC to 18 now. In addition, Mirror Image lowers the chance of being hit by a physical attack, looks outright intimidating for a savage-looking Dragonborn to multiply, and didn't require concentration. Oh yeah, and for good measure, Shield Spell if things get tough for an emergency +5 AC, 23 AC at level 5 for a sorcerer. But wait, there's more. Lightning Lore and Infestation to move enemies around the field as cantrips. Word of Radiance to inflict AoE damage around me. And with the Sorcerer Distant spell, it was a 10-foot radius around me. Thunderwave and Earth Tremor, again with distant spells, made me a living fireball with full control of the battlefield. Oh, and Spiritual Weapon for good measure too. Seriously, I never had so much fun playing a control type character in my life. This isn't even getting into the support spells I had as well, like Counterspell, might take Fireball when I am the Fireball. And since I couldn't think of a final spell to take, Augury, which helped us in more than a few situations. There were times in combat when my DM actually said I regret approving this because I had even started using Lightning Lure on my allies to get them out of dangerous situations, since Lightning Lure only causes damage if the target ends within 5 feet of you. Again, distant spell for the win, and Lightning Lure only pulls 10 feet. My advice to players: don't always look at stats or what spells are strongest when picking your spell list. Think about how you can combine the spells for amazing results, and you will have a lot of fun. And don't forget to take careful spell meta magic either. My most broken character ever was Guntag Tallstag, an ex-Raider champion fighter half-orc, who lost his right eye/arm/leg in his backstory and helped balance him in the beginning because he had reduced speed. Inability to use ranged weapons effectively, no depth perception, and couldn't use anything two-handed. This balance didn't last long. I rolled high stats and started with 20 strength and 19 constitution. Ability score increases helped here. The DM also loves broken things and creativity, so since my original character had died in this campaign and the rest of the party had a bunch of magical items already, I was allowed to choose 2 and could be homebrew. So I got the All-Father's Ring, which gives +2 to AC and all saving throws, +4 to all ability scores, and a few other non-important things. Item number 2 was the Ring of Indomitable Strength. Two-handed weapons can now be wielded one-handed. This, coupled with my base stats, caused a shockingly balanced but still strong character. Again, this wouldn't last long. He was mostly useless outside of combat, but usually my characters are the other way around, so I was able to play with his weaknesses and make it fun. It also helped that whenever I would start some shenanigans, the DM would join in, and we could play off each other, and it meant that the other 2 players who were better out of combat could take their place in the spotlight. Now, some context on the campaign. The party was in a Sword Art Online style system, fighting through different levels of this world, trying to get to the god Reginald, who turned out to be Asmodeus, as he was the final boss. So after fighting through a ton of levels, we started going through every level of hell. The party quickly had to fight and kill Bell, after which Guntag took Bell's flaming greatsword. Also, we dealt extra hit dice with weapon attacks after some in-game training, so 6d6 plus 38 slashing and 1d8 plus 21 fire damage adds strength plus dueling plus proficiency equals plus 16 damage, which in total equals a lot of damage. We also got broken halos from Bell's corpse, and that made me resistant to necrotic and radiant, advantage against fiends, and crits equal triple damage instead of double. Later, I got some red dragon scales, which made me immune to fire, a robe of the Inferno, which gave me +4 AC and could shoot 4 fireballs per day, and some chains from one of the other Lords of Hell, I forget which, that I could control with my mind and use to grapple people. Sounds pretty dang broken, right? I ain't done yet. After we hit level 20 by Guntag practically 1v1ing multiple Lords of Hell and killing Tiamat, the DM let us multi-class and stack a second class on. So now Guntag has 20 levels of Fighter and 5 levels of Barbarian. So what does this all mean? I can crit on an 18 to 20, which causes me to deal triple damage. I get an extra hit die from the crit, half orc, plus I have advantage on fiends, which everyone in Hell is, and 4 attacks per turn, which means I do, on average, 393 damage per turn. 3 hits and 1 crit on average due to advantage and lucky feat, not counting fire because almost all fiends are immune. Oh, and I could use action surge to do that damage again. Due to my armor and items, I have 26 AC and 410 hit points thanks to good rolls and items. And if I'm under half health, I heal 5 plus con mod, which is 6 per turn, not at 0 hit points though, and +9 initiative. Believe it or not, my DM loves him. And while Guntag is pigeonholed into melee combat, I'm a good enough role player that he has story impact too. The DM does an amazing job making it so that I have to get creative in combat, because not all enemies are going to make it easy to hit them, and he gives us our fair share of puzzles and role-playing challenges, so Guntag doesn't become the main character, which makes me glad, and the other players get to have their moments, then gawk at the insane damage I output when the negotiations inevitably turn sour. Honestly, one of my favorite characters, and I can't wait for the DM to get back from the military so we can finish the campaign. Mine? It was kind of a case of bumbling into overpoweredness. I like to call that failing upward. My 3.5 barbarian, Rogar Wolfblood, was a Highlander-style character, always wore a kilt and carried bagpipes into battle, but a run-in with the Deck of Many Things saw Rogar the new owner of a +5 Icy Burst Great Maul. I went from a respectable +8 or so to hit when not raging to a massive +13 to attack, and a minimum of about 20 damage if I rolled a 1. All of this at around level 7 or 8. I ended up prestiging into a frenzied berserker and laid the smack down on so many enemies. A friend of mine wanted to make a kobold warlock. He made a hexblade, but wanted to use a reach weapon effectively. So he wanted to look into mounted combat so he could use a lance. The DM let him buy a mastiff mount. Due to pack tactics, he shared the space with his mount, so he always had a target within 5 feet at melee, meaning he never had disadvantage when striking in melee due to the special property of the lance. It basically was impossible for him to ever have disadvantage on his attack rolls as long as he was within 5 feet, and because he was mounted, he was using a 1d12 damage die with a shield still. He couldn't get advantage for being adjacent unless he used a different weapon, but the same logic would still apply. You could easily go with a non-reach weapon and still get pack tactics due to your mount. Salutations, you cold calculating math factories, and thank you for sparing us the wrath of your overly broken build sufficient that we can finish this video and get it out to you lickety-split-like. We're so glad you've joined us today, and please don't tell your DM that this was our fault as you invariably return to your table to wreak havoc on your friends' imaginations with loopholes, indexes, tables, charts, and of course, rules as written. If your DM allowed an absolutely busted character at your table, we want to hear about it in the comments section below. If you've got another story you'd like to share with us, feel free to do so on our official subreddit, r/MrRipper, where we gather stories just like these for videos just like this, for nerdos just like us. Speaking of, please don't forget to check out our brand new sibling channel, Riptovia, where we feature longer form stories that deserve to have their own videos. With any luck, we can help keep Rip Daddy's House for Wayward Children from crumbling into dust with your support. And if you're a DM or a player looking for a group, check out Mr. Ripper's Group Finder Discord server, where over 4,000 nerdos are looking to roll the bones with someone like you. I hope this week that you make time for some peace and quiet. If you want more of me, you can find me on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitch at Dave Makes Noises. Thank you again for sticking around till the end. We love you here at Rip Daddy's House. Please sub for Nat 20s, ring the bell to feed Rip Daddy's huddled masses of children, or just to be early or call in. We look forward to seeing you soon.